Hi gun people! Figured I'm just going to put some molly on this AK, which you can tell it's kept in one of my hidden locations, and it's kind of dusty and dirty. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart, and this is a bayonet, but I'm going to go ahead and pop this sucker off. Looks like this one has that little safety on the AK. Some of the AKs have a little button right here. See my, crap, what did I just knock over? I had a bunch of empty shells. See my little finger right there? That little button has to be pushed in order to remove this back strap. And I've seen people trying to push this in, but it locks this from going forward. So in order to take the spring out, I gotta depress that button. Another freaking safety that somebody came up with to pull this out. And so I'm gonna go ahead and take all this crap out. I'll put some molly on this cleaning rod. Probably talk about a little police stuff in the middle of all this. Hopefully this thing will come off easier once I put some molly on it. Because this sucker, a lot of my AKs are pretty damn hard to get this up so you can take this off. And I'll put a little molly on this bad boy. And since I haven't mollied this barrel, I'll go ahead and molly the barrel too. Which means I got to put this little clip up here up. And then this should come off. But you know what? I put it on, I think, when it was a little damp. So, that sucker was on there too. And now I got to figure out how to get this. Ah, there we go. You can tell it was a little damp when I put it on. And it kind of glued everything together, which is okay. I don't want it coming off anyway, but I want to get some molly on this barrel. So we have this. I'll probably take this off too. There's a little detent pin here so you can screw this off if you can push it in far enough. I'll try a flat screwdriver. What am I going to talk about police related? Remember, AKs are reverse threaded, but it's got that little detent so it doesn't matter. But I want to get some molly on these threads. Even though I've cleaned these up good, since I found this red molly, I'm going to go ahead and impregnate all my open pores on all this metal, because this gun's kept outside. Now, it's been outside for 2 or 3 years, and I don't see a whole lot of rust. I see a little bit here, not really rusting, but it looked kind of bad. I don't know if I can get this little light over here that'll help that or not. Does that help at all? To see kind of... See my finger? Got a little bit of rust on it. I'm going to go ahead and molly coat all this. So, first I'll wipe it with this rag. That's probably got a little molly on it because I've been wiping off molly. And then I'm literally going to coat every piece of metal on this sucker that I can get to with some of this red molly. And this is a great... this will do much better than any oil you put on here. Now AKs, for some reason, and I'll put it on both sides to where I can just grab something and rub my gloves on it. This grease sticks and prevents rusting a whole lot better than any oil you could put on there. So the fact that this is getting rubbed into the pores, this will protect this gun even though it's outside for freaking a long time. When I put this gun up, I probably won't touch it again for a long time. And we'll see how well it protected it. Again, this is just going on a microscopic level into the pores and making a coating that's not going to be wiped off with oil or anything else. And it's going to protect this gun. So I want to get a little moly on this. This really has no friction. This is just a gas tube on the AK for those that understand it. So the gas hits here and it forces it back and then it goes forward. So there's not a whole lot of friction. There may be a little friction here, but not a whole bunch. And this moly's going to really get in there. I'll go ahead and pull the bolt out. I've got a little bit of white lithium, because sometimes I'll spray my AK downs with this to get a little white lithium grease in there, because it tends to stick where it is. But this stuff I think is 10 times the protection, the lubrication value, the anti-friction value of that white lithium. So again, I'm going to coat every place I can rub. This is a high friction area right here because it hits the trigger. But like I said, this is going in on a microscopic level, and I'm not going to be able to wipe it off, and it's going to give it all kind of protection. Get a little tube here, and I'm going to put some inside this tube because I'm going to stick a patch down in here. Tell I got a little black off there. And this is where this spring goes in. So again, not really a high friction area, but it's not going to rust. And I'm using a Q-tip on these corners areas so I can get the edges in the corners. Because I'm just rubbing it with my finger, I'm not getting deep in those corners. And my finger can't get inside here. So I'll just so that's pretty good. Got 2 pieces done. I'll go ahead and get this little flash suppressor brake muzzle. This is probably more of a muzzle brake because it's got the holes on top so the pressure comes out. But again, I'm going to get some anti rust value from this. Where the hell is my little patch thing? Somebody said something about this. I was rubbing it in my gun's aggressive. This is plastic, so I'm not worried about scratching my my gun any. Okay, so that's got some good rust protection, good lubricant. Get the rest of my firing pin, actually the bolt firing pin's inside. Some good moly on it. I can't get in the corner, so I will make sure and get all nice and all these little edges. And again, this has been outside in the temperatures for at least a couple years, not 3 or 4. And it looked pretty good. So the oil I was doing was okay. I just happen to think this moly is superior. So call me crazy. See how that yellowing, I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Do y'all see that yellowing inside there? That's that white lithium, and I don't really like looking at that. When I open this up and see this, I'm kind of like, really? So I'm going to go ahead and clean that out and try to remove that. Even though it's not rust, it is white moly. I'm going to go ahead and take off my safety too. And moly that up. Tell right there where I've got some of that white lithium on there. Can you see that? I'm going to get that off. Put this red. It won't show up like that. Probably is semantics. I think it just looks cleaner. But, you know, that white lithium does not cover. I can't smooth it all over something like this where it will stick. it'll slide off. Whereas this Molly, again, these little points that's on the side that's always sticking on AKs. Let's see if it makes it smoother when I put this bad boy back in. So I'm not getting a whole lot of rust off this, which I'm kind of happy about. But I can guarantee you, I could probably leave this sucker out in the rain and it wouldn't rust like other things would with this grease on it. But who knows? You know, next week they may come out with something that makes this stuff look like junk. Oh shit. I hate that little pin. That's that locking pin that I always end up losing. A lot of my AKs, I replaced it with an aftermarket thing instead of those damn little springs that keep your pins in, because the springs are a pain in the butt. And if you've never taken off a trigger of an AK, let me tell you, those Russians do not mess around with their freaking springs. That shit is freaking hard, and when it snaps on your finger, it hurts. But, you know. Yeah, see, I don't like that white lithium, because I look in here and it just looks dirty. And I can't tell if it's clean or not, because that white lithium turns brown, which is the same as a light rust would do. So, again, we are going to have this sucker mollied up. Get that nice trigger good. That's where my rails. So I'm really only concerned about this side of the trigger because that's where the hook is. If you don't understand how a AK works, some of them are double hooked, some are single hooked. This one is single hooked, so it's only hooking on one side. I'll do this side for rust protection, not so much for lubricant. But this should decrease my trigger considerably. So what's my cop thing? What can I bring up that people screw up a lot? Probable cause, reasonable suspicion. That seems to be a lot of people. Probable cause is higher than reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion is the same as articulable reasonable suspicion. If you can't articulate it, it's not articulable. Hell, I forgot the word now. Suspicion. So as long as I can articulate it, then it could be reasonable. So when cops are saying, or I see a lot of auditors, and I'm not cracking on auditors, I've said before, I think they do a needed service. But there are, what's your articulable suspicion? What's your suspicion? You need reasonable, what's your RAS? And I'm like, well, RAS isn't as high as probable cause. And a cop explaining it to somebody who isn't a cop, it may not sound like reasonable suspicion. It may sound like BS. But remember, cop is judged on what other cops would do and think. Now, a lot of people think that is not fair, and it shouldn't be that way. Well, I think it was good in theory, but like most things in theory with government, it's only good until government figures out a way to abuse it. And then it loses its original intent. So, is it good that cops... The reason why that law came about is the regular citizen doesn't have the training that cops do. Regular citizens can't testify as experts, because to testify as an expert, you need to have more knowledge than the average person. And most cops have more knowledge than the average person who has never been a cop. Rick, cops are dumb, and you only need a high school... Oh, whatever. Look, there's a lot of places that require bachelors, And I'm not saying you got to be freaking brilliant to be a cop, but to be a good cop, you better understand the law. You better know how to cover your butt. Most cops are just kind of, they know how to test a lie and BS their way through something, even though it's wrong. So I'm not a fan of that. Again, I'm not putting a whole bunch of this, but I just want enough to coat any exposed area where rust could happen. And I'm not even thinking if rust happens on a lot of areas I'm doing, if it would matter. I should have brought a second glove because I knew I was going to tear that up. And those little switches are always a pain right here to give. They got to be straight. Ooh, doggies. That little sucker don't want to come off at all. We'll work on that in a second. Alright, so I think I've done the interior here pretty good with Molly. I've got all my things. I'm going to go ahead and try to replace this damn spring where you guys can't see it. So this goes in here and it's got to go to the other side, but there's a little bitty spring that's got to go over here. And that spring ends up, I call it a spring, it's more of a retainer clip for this pin right here, so this pin doesn't come out. Like it's already came out a little bit. So I got to make sure and get that bad boy back where it belongs. And I think I might have to pull the trigger to release some tension and get this in there. So let's, I've got this in here. It is a fine little hole to get that sucker in there. And let me tell you, I should probably do it not on camera. I may just end up having cutting this part out, because it's just sometimes when you get into things, it's kind of wiggling and figuring it out. It's got to be straight, it's got to be crooked, and I'm not sure why this thing isn't, I guess to put tension on that bad boy. Damn, that thing's hard to get in. If I had $1 every time a woman told me that. Anyway, Rick, you can't say. Be quiet, big crybabies. Come on, baby. It'll go. No, it hurts. No, it doesn't. Come on. It'll feel good, I promise. I'm talking to my gun, people. Relax. So, now I could get this in easy without that damn pin. But that retainer pin is a pain in the butt. And I'm not sure why. Oh, you know what? That damn pin backed out again. Ah! Ah, now you're in, you little piece of no good for nothing. Still doesn't look like it's lining up very good. Ah! Man, it would be so easy without that pin. Which is why I hate this damn pin. But once you get it, it's in. And it's got some retention. Ugh, you little piece of no good for nothing. I mean, it is just right there for the taking. So let me pull this damn pin out so you see what the hell I'm doing. Because it is a freaking pain. So this little sucker right here goes in here, and there's a little pin right here that holds your trigger mechanism in. And there's a little groove on the inside, so when you put this in there, it stops this pin from pushing out. So it's a locking pin. Well, it's longer, so you got to bend it in order to create tension. Well, there's only a little bitty hole that this piece goes in over here, and it's got to go in here before it goes in there. And man, this little sucker does not want to do it. But we're going to keep trying until we get it. Got no damn choice. And it's also got to be on the very back part of your trigger spring. Otherwise it'll just push up against the trigger spring. So now it's in there. Pin's pushed all the way in. Come on, baby. What the hell? Come on, you know you want to go. You want to be in there. I got this molly. It's nice and slick. Oh, you know what? I think this has to be locked in order to go down to make room. So now I'm not having a tension. It's just getting it in that hole. Where it's supposed to be. Ah! I love it when a plan comes together. Oh, it did make it a little softer. These are usually pretty, So, now the problem is the damn pin jumped up over the freaking retaining pin. Oh, you're killing me. So, the smart thing to do would be take it out. The easy thing is to push something in there with some leverage and bend that damn pin till it pops into the right place. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. There is just not enough room in there to do that. Oh, maybe there is. Got it back. Just got to push it down. Everybody's like, damn. That's kind of a lot of work to put molly. Well, it is. But I shouldn't have pulled off this damn pin, and I haven't taken this apart in a while. So I forgot what a pain in the butt it was to get this sucker in there. As long as that pin is in there good, I think I'm good to go. Alrighty. Yeehaw! Yeah, who's the man? Yeah, who's your daddy? Oh man, that made that trigger nice. Nice. Woo! I haven't taken apart any of my 1911s yet to try this on there. But man, I'll tell you, that shit is smooth. Now that's a little stiffer than I like, but I'm not sure I can get any in between that little spring in there. There's some friction right there, so put a little moly on that. Alrighty, so we got the bolt, we got that. Shit, I'm almost done, baby. A little piece of metal right there. That glove's really working out nice. This is the defective rubber. If you guys missed that class, if this happens, I know you don't want to waste the money to get a new one, but believe me, it's cheaper to waste the money and get a new one. But I digress. What are we talking about? Oh, articulable suspicion versus probable cause. Probable cause is that set of facts and circumstances that would lead a reasonable person with the same training and knowledge to come to the same conclusion. That's probable cause. So, if you are wanting a search warrant, you need probable cause. You don't need a reasonable suspicion. Can you have probable cause without reasonable suspicion? No. If you have probable cause, then you have reasonable suspicion. Probably before you had facts that made it probable cause. There's not a specific definition to it, and you can't put your finger on it because it's fluid and it's moving. And every set of facts of circumstances are different. So, for someone to go, you don't have probable cause or you do, you can't answer that unless you have the same amount of experience and training or more, so you can disagree. Remember, somebody with more training and experience can reach probable cause when somebody with less cannot. And that's kind of the purpose of the probable cause standard, so it's not, you can't say it is or it isn't. It has to be viewed from the reasonable person standard, but for cops, it's the reasonable cop. Unfortunately, most cops are freaking unreasonable, so it's a bullshit standard. It used to be cops were reasonable guys. They were part of the community. They weren't shooting people for no freaking reason. They weren't doing stupid things all the time. So they were reasonable. Most cops today are not reasonable in my book. So to have them defining a reasonable standard is kind of BS. There was something I want to do around here and I kind of forgot. Oh, I think this little thing in here got kind of... Was it that? I found some little... Oh no, it was down here. I got some little shavings on this. You see those little metal shavings? Not sure what that is. I'm assuming it's just flaking off from ejections. But I don't like finding foreign things on my guns after I cleaned them. To me, that's a problem. I didn't clean it good. Alright, let's get some this molly on here. This should make it go back together easier. Stop all my rusting. Alright, so probable cause. When do you need probable cause? You need probable cause to make an arrest. You need probable cause for a warrant. You need, although it's not called probable cause, you need probable cause to justify exigency. I can't justify exigency. Maybe you could do it. Maybe. I don't know. I would have to research. But my guess is no. You cannot have... This is probably going to be pretty dirty. Yeah. Woo! Because this is the gas tube. And I don't really clean that out much. But this patch has a little molly on it. So once I get... Ooh, man, that sucker is pretty clean. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Pretty clean for a gas area. And now this molly is going to make it that much easier next time I clean it, or if I don't clean it, because it's going to make, when I wipe something off, it's not, whatever gets in there isn't going to stick to anything. This molly has created a coating, remember, microscopic, I know it sounds like I'm pushing this, but I'm really not. I'm just telling you why I like it and why I think it's a good thing. But I wanted to get a good coat, especially on my, I've got a shotgun that I keep on the back of my golf cart. And it's always out in the elements. And I usually clean it once every 2 years, and I don't find any rust on it. But now that I put this on it, if I didn't clean it in 2 years, I think I'd be okay. So I wanted to get a little moly around this this thread where my you shouldn't do threads, Rick, because if you do threads, then it won't stick and it'll come undone. That's why it's got a detent pin there that locks it. This ain't coming undone. People always trying to outsmart me, thinking they know everything. They got to tell me how they caught me. That's one thing the internet does. It's almost like being a cop. Everybody's always watching, and they're going to point out when you're freaking wrong. So you better know what the hell you're doing. Then again, I frankly don't give a crap if I'm wrong. I'll just end up learning something in the process if I'm wrong. And that's okay. Alright. Ooh. It's got a nice little molly coat all over it. Rick, you... Oh, my thumb went out. Ooh, look at that. Play a little violin now. It's really smooth because of that molly. A little cleaning rod went. Where's that cleaning rod? Speaking of that. Oh yeah, so this cleaning rod's never going to rust now. Yeah, baby. Now, I've taken this spring off a couple times, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to get back on, so I'm not going to take it off. I'm going to get the part that's probably going to rust that's out in the open, and we're going to call that almost good. And then we're going to put this sucker back together, and it's going to be greasy lightning. Ooh, doggies. Alright. How's this damn thing go back together? Crazy ass AK. Pretty sure that goes in there. Pretty sure this goes around here. Pretty sure I'm going to have to hammer this. See it tighten them up back here? Pretty tight. And this is supposed to be tight before this thing will close. Notice how it closed easy? Because it's in the right spot. Oh man, that's much easier. Woo! Oh, gotta love that molly now. That's just my new miracle water locks. Alright, we'll get this little sucker back on. Anybody remember how this sucker goes? I think it goes in something like that. Let's see if this little sucker is any easier. I'm gonna put a little extra molly right there on in that little hole, because this little sucker doesn't play around. Yep, that's locked in. Come on, get in that hole. Pull a little hair around that hole, I'll find it. Pick that up, slide it in there. Oh yeah. We're rocking now. Rocking, rocking, rocking. Oh, gotta put the old bolt in. Can't do this without the bolt. And when I put this in here, what did I notice? Damn it, there was something I just noticed though, like, shit, I gotta put some grease on that too. Oh, it was this. I didn't put a patch down here where the spring went. And I wanted to do that. Woo! Doggies, that's dirty. Hell, I probably ain't done that before. Or last time I did it, I didn't do it good. Man, that was dirty. I don't like finding all that dirt on any of my guns. But this is actually the gas tube chamber. So that's going to be the dirty spot. I had something longer out here. Let me try this one. Get all the way to the back. we'll just put a little moly over some of that dirt. Rick, you can't do that. Well, shit, I just did. Remember, that dirt's bigger than this microscopic moly shit that's going into the pores. So I'm not worried about a little dirt, people. I know I should be, and I'm a bad gun owner and all that other stuff, but alright. Make sure this bad boy's locked in. Put this sucker in here. I don't know if I got moly in this little cracker here, because that's right on that rail. And I need a, what do you call those things for the cigars? This thing. I forgot what it's called. Pipe cleaner. So that's the only thing that I can get really in that little bitty thin part right there. And since that's riding on a rail, I really want to get that protected, because that is constant velocity, constant friction. Okay, try this one more time. See if I didn't forget something else. Aha! Houston, we have whatever it was. Touchdown, takeoff. Which one was it? Go ahead and put a little moly on this edge. I know I did it, but that's real where the friction part is. And the ones with a lock, you can put it in here. The gun won't go back together because it's got that second pin. When you press that detent, that should pop into place, which it did. So that tells me it's in place. Now I'm going to take this sucker, put it back in place. Woo! I feel like butter. Woo! I could bake a cake on that bad boy. Woo! Doggies. A lot of AKs will stall like right here. You can pull it back, and if you let it go slow, it'll stall right there like it did a little bit. I like mine to where it's nice and smooth. Hell, that even sounds smooth. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that trigger is definitely smoother. Wow. Nice. Put my little reverse thread flash suppressor extraordinaire, Sneaky Willie Pete, whatever you want to call it. Now, because it clicks on the first one, you got to push that in and finish spinning it on. There we go. Maybe I can go one more. Sometimes it'll only go a half. Yeah, see, it'll only go a half. So I can't tighten it to get these holes up top where they're supposed to be. So I have to go back a half a turn until it clicks. And that little detent pin is going to pop out. Boom. Holes are on top where they're supposed to be. So the pressure comes out, keeps the barrel from rising. And my gosh, I got me an AK. Shit. Those are fake bullets. I didn't want anybody to get scared on YouTube. You should never use real bullets on YouTube, because you never know if somebody's going to, you know, get stuck or something. So I'll move that out of the way. This is a bayonet. Doesn't look like it's rusted. Looks pretty good. People always, when I'm cleaning knives, I always just kind of rub them like that. People are like, you're going to cut yourself. I'm going against the blade, people. I can't cut myself as long as I keep this that way. I only cut myself if I go that way. So when I'm rubbing this, I'm rubbing down onto the blade there. On this side, obviously, I got to go the other way and rub down on. Oh shit! Ah, you big crybabies! I didn't cut myself. I just told you why I didn't cut myself. Crybaby running around. You're gonna cut him there. It's not safe. I'm gonna call YouTube and tell him that he's not safe and he scared me. Now some YouTube video viewer is gonna have to be watching. Go to counseling because I scared her on one of my videos. For y'all that don't know what I'm talking about, when they did that What the hell happened to my pipe cleaner? Shit's always be disappearing and shit. There it is on the ground. So when I did that video on Susan Warwick or whatever her name is, I'm not really trying to butcher it. I just don't know how to pronounce it. She's the CEO of YouTube, and one of the things she was saying is they asked her, "Is it true that it's very stressful to watch videos?" And that they have to go to counseling. I'm like, really? You got to go to counseling over video? Now, I'm sure there's some sickies out there that are uploading some pretty mean animal cruelty. I don't know if they get a lot of... They probably don't do any training on their reviewers to find out what's a crime and how to report something when somebody uploads something that's illegal as hell. Because any child porn is illegal. So that looks like okay. I'm not sure what... Man, look how dirty and dusty that is. It was sitting outside with the gun. That's how much stuff. And this wasn't out as long as the gun was out. The gun's been out there longer because I picked up this sheath. And I don't know if this is plastic or metal. It feels like metal. Anybody know what that is? Is that plastic or metal? Well, somebody's going to say, well, you have a magnet. I do have a magnet. It's not sticking. Okay, that's metal for sure. So down here is metal. I'm not sure what the hell this is. But it looks like there's a little metal right there where the blade goes in. Get a little molly on there. Even if it ain't metal, I'm going to go ahead and put a little coat of molly on it. Stop any rust sitting outside. I think this goes for cutting something, if I remember correctly. I haven't used it in freaking ever. So this goes here. You cut, hell, I don't know how this damn thing works. Maybe it goes this way. No? Anyway, I'm sure somebody would know how to use it if they needed it. If not, they just wouldn't use it. How about that? Well, Rick, if you have to use it, and you... Shut up, you big dummy. Alright. Got to look at this and make sure I'm going the right way. It's freaking square, so I don't think it matters which way I go. Does it matter? That went in pretty nice. I don't think it matters. Because it goes in either way. But what I do know... Ooh, that's slick. Woo! It's smooth. It's molly smooth. Woo, doggies. I know you guys are jealous. How smooth and clean. Get a little molly on here just in case we want to get a little... Alright, I didn't get a whole bunch of cop talk, but I got one of my AKs done. And talked a little bit, I guess, about a few things. So we'll end that one there on cop talk, probable cause, articulable suspicion, and cleaning a AK.